Hi, I'm going to give you some tips on presenting to a deaf audience. So first, keep in mind that you will be working with interpreters. Your interpreter will be putting into sign language whatever you say. Remember, for deaf persons, their language is visual. And that means they need to see you clearly, good lighting, and not visual distractions. And very importantly, they need to see their interpreters very clearly, well lit, no visual distractions. It's really good if the interpreter can be close to you, because then a deaf person can watch the interpreter so they know what's being said, but they can just see you out the corner of the eye, or they just glance over to you. So they see your movements, your facial expression, and get the full you while the interpreter is signing. So it's nice to work together when possible. Now, also, when you're working with an interpreter, they're going to be a step behind you because they wait for you to say something, then they interpret, because they have to convert English into Jamaican Sign Language word order. American Sign Language, British Sign Language, it doesn't matter. They all have different word orders. And so they listen to a bit of what you're saying, then they begin to convert it into the word order and structure of the sign language. And you're talking and they're signing just a little bit behind you. So when you pause, just pause a little longer, and then they catch up, and then the deaf person will get the pause. For example, I just paused a while ago, and you are a hearing person, you would get that pause. But if it's not long enough, a deaf person won't get the pause because they're just going to get from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. So you have to be aware that your pauses need to be just a little bit longer for the deaf audience to actually get the pause, because the interpreter is just a little bit behind you. And as soon as you start talking, they have to keep going, okay? You don't have to be like a slug and talk like this. You talk at a good speed and in full sentences, because the interpreter is not interpreting word for word. Now I say that, no, now I'm saying this, and they will convert that into JSL. So you give chunks. All right, so that's a little bit about working with interpreters. Remember, sign language is a visual language. Why is that important to know? Not only do you need to see the presenters clearly and the interpreters, but you have, as a presenter, you have to keep in mind, if your audience is going to take a note, they're going to look down and write a note, and then they're going to look up. Hearing people do that all the time, and when they look down, they continue to hear, and sometimes they just look down and write and write and write and write and write because they keep hearing. Remember that as soon as a deaf person looks down to take a note, all communication is lost because they can no longer see the interpreter. So as a presenter to a deaf audience, it would be nice to give breaks to write notes, or if you notice that people are looking down, wait. Check back in, okay, you guys ready? And go again. Pauses are good. It gives the interpreter time, it gives the students time, or the participants, and it gives people time to take notes. All right, so that's a little bit about being visual. Remember that as soon as you look away, all communication stops. Now, how do you present your topic? How do you present it to a deaf audience? It's slightly different for a hearing audience. For a hearing audience, very often we talk non-literal. We use, we use like metaphors, and we use phrases and examples, and I'm sorry, I can't think of the word, but we're not literal. And we're not linear. When you're presenting to a deaf audience, please be both literal and linear. Don't keep going off on tangents, and don't talk in metaphors and these fanciful, beautiful, poetic examples. Those become very difficult to interpret into sign language in the moment for the deaf audience to fully understand. So as best as possible, change your presentation to be linear and to be literal. And those are my tips. If you have, wait, one more. Use language that is not simplistic, as in no intelligence, but that is clear to understand. There's some words that are maybe not well known to the deaf community. How would you know? You won't know, but just try to be sensitive to the fact that you want to present in a way that an interpreter can just convert it into a totally different language, a different modality. It's visual, it's got different word orders, and they can do it easily. So help them, because the more you help them is the more your message will get across to the deaf community. If you have any questions, please contact the Jamaica Association for the Deaf, 876-970-1778-9, or email interpretingservices, interpretingservices, all one word, interpreting services at jamdeaf.org.jm, and that's at jamdeaf.org.jm. Thank you.